Go ahead and we'll start here, and then if you want me to double through, just go ahead and let me know, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right. So my name's Tony, by the way. So this is our 25th year anniversary.
Oh wow.
And we decided to do something a little bit different. So like 5 years ago for our 20th, we launched a whole new series of cases, all the way from like big giant super towers down to like little micro cubes, and it was our level 20.
Okay.
So for this year, we wanted to focus on color instead, and that color is our Hydrangea blue. We're bringing that to our entire product stack. We want to try to increase compatibility for colors across everything.
Okay.
So I guess one quick example was like previously we had our Tower 1 and 200s. We did like racing green, and everyone was like, hey man, I love this green, but I really don't feel like painting my fans, my AIO and everything else. Can you help out? So something that we looked into. So if you want, we can go over here.
Yep.
Starting over from the left, we have our SWAFAN EX and Hydrangea Blue. If you guys aren't familiar with this, we'll do a full run through. These are awesome fans. Following that, we have our THV2 Ultra. Comes with an integrated 2-inch screen and 3 CT fans. This is also coming in the blue and white 25-year coloring, along with the 25-year tags.
We do a full walkthrough of these Hydrangea Blue fans.
We're actually going to get every product that we see here. When we go through the walkthrough, I'll go a bit more in depth on it. So like we'll go a little quick and then we can double back.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so we also have our Tower 300. This is one of our premier cases this year. I really love this one. It's definitely one of my favorites for METX. It really changes up the game. I like it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I like the addition of that.
The screen panels, yeah, it's really cool stuff with that. Following that, we also have some supporting products. We're going to have our GFA3 coming out in the Hydrangea Blue as well, along with our XG memory too. So one thing I probably should mention is the blue is a color that is going to stick around for us. But for this first year, everything's going to be tagged with the 25-year logos. After that, it's going to be just blue. So those will technically be limited edition.
Limited edition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Following that, we have my personal favorite case of the year. It's a really tough call between the Tower 300 and this guy. But this is our E600. I love this thing. I'm always huge on like larger form factor builds, as well as full ATX. So I saw this and I immediately fell in there. There's some really cool features. We do have some of our SWAFANs implemented in here. So some of the things you might notice is like, hey, why are you guys exhausting from the bottom? We're not, and I'll go a little bit more in depth on that later. We have some cool little surprises with those. Following that, we have our Series 330. So if you guys were following us from last year, we launched our Series 300. And without making it too basic, this is almost like a clone copy, just with a couple of extra little special features. So you can probably see like, hey, where's the 24 pin? Where's the 8 pin? Where's my GPU power?
Right.
This is running the Project Zero or the ASUS the ASUS BTF board. So all the connectors are located on the back. This is a really cool case. So if you guys like, we can go ahead and shift over. We'll check out the E600 and we'll do a quick walkthrough on this guy. So I was mentioning last year, we debuted our CTE cases. If you guys aren't familiar, CTE stands for Centralized Thermal Efficiency. So one thing we really tried to focus on was rotating the motherboard. So that way the CPU, memory, and the GPU eventually will all be located in a centralized location. It shortens down the air pathways that they need to travel and allows us to more efficiently just release the heat from the top.
Makes sense.
But what's also cool about this case is it's part of our MX lineup. Our MX lineup was kind of an old thing that we used to do, where instead of launching, let's say, a case in one color and 2 separate versions, like an Air and a TG, the MX basically brings an additional front panel.
Okay.
So you're going to get both air and tempered glass. Whenever you feel like swapping that out, you have that ability. And hey, what's a vented panel? If you can't put anything behind it, this also comes with an additional bracket where you can install fans, radiator, whatever you want. This bracket, the side bracket, the bottom, and the left side can all support up to a 420 millimeter radiator or 340 millimeter fan. So it's very versatile. Let me go ahead and strip this down a little bit so you guys can get a better view. I really love this case when it's all stripped down. I still have one panel left from here, but it's in the back, so I'll just leave that one there. But I mean, that's the majority of the panels. If you noticed, I didn't have to grab a single screwdriver, anything like that. It's all toolless, just utilizing these little push clips. And it makes it super simple. One reason for that is all the I/O is located up top. So we try to give you very easy access because the cables are just going to go and route straight out the back. So,
Nice clean look there.
oh, thank you. So going into price for this guy, it's going to be $179 for both the black, the white, and the blue. Now, one thing with this case is there are not going to be any fans included. We had a discussion and for riser cable as well. Those cable lengths are usually anywhere from like $60 to $80. So we felt like that was a good value, especially because this case can support 3 different graphics card orientations. You can plug straight directly into the board. You can hover the card over the board, as shown over off to the left right there. Or my personal favorite is you can free float the GPU with 3 different mounting options. So you can make sure you actually fully center it. I really like this free flow, especially because the bottom of it is vented. Even if you have a water blocked card, you're going to get some airflow moving through. So I thought that was really nice. As I mentioned before, this is our Series 330. It's essentially a clone copy kind of our 300 with just a few minor changes. One thing we changed was the silver bar up front. We went ahead and color matched that just to differentiate a little bit. But the bigger feature is the inclusion of the dual cutouts for both the BTF or Project Zero connectors, as well as standard motherboard layouts. So the nice part about this case is it comes in at 109, brings 340 millimeter fans, but you can go ahead and do a standard build in here, not have any issues. And then once the whole Project Zero, backwards connector boards and cards are more available, if that's something that you want to switch over to, the case is already set up for that. So you wouldn't have to look at getting another case. Yeah, it's really interesting how everything routes. It was definitely a challenge to try to make sure that the cutouts are set up so that it can support as many of the different motherboards as possible. Because, everyone has their own style. They're all going to do it different.
Right,
So it's
right.
pretty wild.
Yeah, well, it definitely looks like a versatile set. Like you said, standard board, and this will probably fit a lot of those backward connector boards.
Yep.
Looks like you left fairly good amount of space for all the connections.
Some of the stuff you can tell is definitely a little tight, but it's totally going to fit no problem. It's really interesting. I like seeing this change up. I'm always a huge person when it comes to having like clean cable management.
Yeah.
So this is something that really just helps you shine with that. Like you can do a crazy nice little build in the back and always just know that. And then people can trip out on the front and be like,
Right.
hey, where are all the cables?
Right.
So it's really cool. I really like this case a lot. I think these guys should be coming in stock pretty soon. And like I said, for 109, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, definitely. And so you can have messy cables, or you can have them nicely routed.
Exactly. This is kind of just like a mini-me version of that.
Okay.
It follows all the exact same design stylings of that case, just shrunken down into an M8TX form factor. Excuse me. Dual chamber design. It can also accept up to a 4070 Ti and a 280 millimeter liquid pulse. Yeah, it's cool. It has almost like a little bit of a mini fridge, like kind of a luxury.
Yeah, like I said, for like a little brother or a nephew or a niece or something like that.
Especially if you already have the larger case, because it's just a little shrunk down version. It's kind of cool in that respect.
It's like a mini.
Yeah, exactly. This is our Tower 300. Are you guys somewhat familiar with the Tower line of plane?
Yeah.
Cool. So I love this guy because it's the product of a lot of feedback from like the Tower 100, the Tower 200. Starting from the top, on the Tower 100, you need 5 screws to get in. We got a lot of feedback saying like, hey man, it's too tedious.
Right.
The 200, you had to do the little pop out thing, and then you could lift it off and then access everything else. Still, we just didn't feel it was totally right. So on the 300, we redesigned it. It just lifts off like completely easy. I also love that it has a removable dust filter. That was something we weren't able to do previously. Another cool feature is we were also able to expand out the fan capacity on the top. Previously, you could only fit 120 or 140 millimeter fan. We now have a dual fan bracket that just hinges up and is fully removable as well. Very, very simple. You can reach all of your I/O, everything like that. Funny enough, you can also reach the I/O from in front of the case. It's pretty open. You can do a whole lot, but hey, let's say, you're building it, you need a little bit more space. You can just go ahead and tear everything down on it. It's super simple. All the glass panels are utilizing those push clips. So it's just push it in and out. You're going to have the most fun just tearing it down and putting it back together. The sides are actually magnetic. So it's very, very simple, super smooth. I really love that it has the removable dust filters. And I mean, if you look at that venting, that's really, really open venting.
Yeah.
If you're like me and like one of the first things you do on the build is just take the dust filter and kind of throw it aside. And you're like, hey, I'll clean out the build more often.
Right.
I want the solid performance. It can breathe a lot. And that's really good because there's an M8TX case. It's got 400 millimeters worth of graphics card space. So I mean, we're talking about like 4090 Strix OC, no problem. And on the other side, we have up to 420 millimeters worth of AIO space. So I mean, they can meet some of the more demanding chips out there. And that's a lot, especially for an M8TX case. 420 millimeter cooler, you really don't see that too often.
Yeah, definitely. You get a lot of cooling capacity in a compact size. Exhaust out in. Once again, no screwdrivers.
Yeah,
Totally
yeah.
toolless.
Oh, I mean, even for like some of the optional accessories, like the front screen, the bracket comes with the case, but the screen itself is an optional accessory.
Right.
But I mean, even that, swapping that out, no screwdrivers. Click it in, you're all set to go. It's very simple. The case also has room on top of the radiator fans. It can also mount an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the back. So the case can fit a lot of cooling. It takes a full-size ATX power supply, and no need to go SFX or anything like that. So let me go ahead and snap this guy back together. Oh, and another note is we have a ton of colors for this, as you probably saw.
Yeah.
They're on the matcha green one right now, but that we have the matcha green, the racing green, turquoise, the bumblebee yellow, white, and then I also have a black one that's running a racing simulator, and the hydrangea blue that you saw up front. I think pre-orders are already going right now and they're shipping at like the end of the month. I'm really excited for this case. It looks really cool. It reminds me of like a cryogenic sleep chamber.
Yeah.
They got pulled straight off the Nostromo from Alien.
Yeah, it's definitely something like sci-fi. And with the price,
You can 149 for all the colors.
What do you call it?
Yes, well, I mean,
Everything down?
I just lost my
Experience with that?
But yeah, I mean, that's immediately what I thought when I saw it. I was like, dude, it's like a cryo pod. So this next thing is really what drives it home. We're working on a horizontal stand mount for it. It's going to be, I believe, around $29 or $39 for it. And I just love how it changes things up. It really gives you that cool cryogenic chamber feel and whatnot. You know, most of the time the towers have been iconic for being vertical cases. So to take one and just throw it on its side was just like, oh, this is pretty cool. The kit brings the stand for the bottom, but it also brings a foot delete as well. So it's only 4 screws to remove the feet. That bottom cap is really, really easy to take on and off.
Okay.
Just like how you saw me pull off that top cap, same process.
tools, right?
Yeah, I mean, it lifts off like that, and it's gonna slap right back on like that. You can technically move your case from horizontal to vertical in under 5 minutes, no problem.
Okay.
You know,
It definitely makes like a showpiece. You got a theme going, like you said, cryopie, a couple like alien figures just around and everything. It's
totally. I mean, I can totally imagine this sitting on my desk. I mean, this space going this way is about the size of a regular mid tower or so.
right.
And I mean, if that's how you had it mounted, so that this was just staring at you in the face while you're playing, that's pretty awesome. I can already see that. And I love how you can also see the fans from this side as well. It's just a cool little effect. The fans really get to come into their own there.
It's definitely cool.
I'm really excited for this one. Like I said, it was a really close call between this one and the E600. But for me, I'm usually a full ATX person, so that's why I lean that way. But this has so many cool features. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, this be a fun build.
Dude, and then with all the color options, I mean, so here's the cool thing from where we started, how I was telling you about all the different supporting products in that blue.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily do a white and blue build like how we showed off. You can color match everything. What's stopping you? You know, you can get a hydrangea blue AIO, memory, power supply, fans, and slap them all in a racing green case. I think the dark green with that blue and that white might actually look pretty cool. Yeah, you can do some really cool combinations. And that was one of the big things for us is we really want people to feel like you can customize your PC to really make it your own. We can always all buy the same combos,
Right.
but you can really do something special maybe before you decide to actually start tearing apart and modding it like how we see some of the modders do.
That's good. Giving a customer that.
Holy,
It makes it
special like it's
yeah,
yours.
makes the tools design makes it so much easier.
Yeah, completely. All right, so moving on really quick. This guy has been awesome. We're moving into racing cockpit simulators.
Okay.
So what we're marketing here is the chair and the tube frame, not the steering wheel and pedals. I believe so. It should be standard mounting for most of the Logitech and some of the other supporting ones. I still need to get a full list of the supporting one. Oh, But yeah, this one's gonna be the two frames. You got a chair and then that shifter arm mount, and those are coming in at about $799. Yep. So additionally, we also have the thermal monitor mount that's actually not included with the frame. I like that it's personally separate because you can adjust it separately. Or even I do see certain use cases where I might just want one monitor mount on its own. You know, not behind the desk and just have some fun. So the monitor mount's $179, and then we're also coming out. We've teased these monitors a few times before at CES and Computex, but never really sold them or had a price. These guys are now going to be coming out. We have 32-inch WQHD monitors coming in at 309.
Okay.
With 170 hertz refresh rate.
1440p.
Yes, sir. 1440p. And then we also have 27-inch variants that are flat panel IPS. I believe 165 hertz, 1440p as well.
Okay.
And we'll be looking at those in a minute.
That's nice.
Definitely, like when we're done, if you want to come back and drive a few laps, I would totally suggest it.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun.
All right.
All right, so moving on. Hey, you know what? I'm standing. Coming in the Hydrangea blue, what the 25-year logo is. The seat design itself was actually done by Porsche FA Studios, and it's pretty nice. I really like how it grips. The biggest thing that I noticed, or actually two biggest things that I noticed, is rather than the whole seat moving when you recline, just the back's gonna move, and it's for ergonomics essentially. The other thing I noticed that I personally like is the pressure underneath your knees is substantially less than you get on most seats. And that was a pretty nice relief right there. Oh, yeah. So going with that, we have our G700 gaming desk. This is one of our premier desks that we've been working on. It's a full sit stand desk. The modules have been redesigned to include mechanical switches. Why not? You know, we're all gaming. The nice part about the desk is it is dual motors. And the motors, we've done a lot of work to make sure that they're as smooth as possible and very quiet as possible too. But that's actually not all that the desk offers. If you want to come right here, let me run to the back. So, good. You guys can see it. So in the back of the desk, there's an integrated wire management tray. So you can go ahead and manage all your cables with a little flip out section right here. But I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. But what I really liked about this is actually underneath the desk, there's a rail system mounted. This rail system, it might be a little tough to see, but the rail system, what it does is it's actually going to mount monitor arms, and it's universal to any monitor arm.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be Thermaltake ones. What this is going to allow you to do is, if you guys have used monitor mounts, you probably know the burden of having to go underneath, unscrew it, get someone else to be like, hey bro, is it there? Please don't let this fall on me. That's all. It just slides on a rail anytime you want. You don't need that second person, and you can shift your monitors anytime to any orientation you want. Super easy on the fly. It's very simple. When I first saw this at our headquarters, I essentially sat there for like 10 minutes, just sliding the monitors back and forth because it's really satisfying.
You know, when you're mad, you're up and over.
Yeah.
Especially for one person.
Yeah. For me, I go underneath and I'll move it over a little bit, and then I'll be like, all right, I'll lock it back in, stand back up and be like, oh man, I missed it by a little bit. I got to go back under and do it. And the thing is too, is monitors get expensive. You know, especially some of the high-end gaming monitors will go upwards of $500, $600, $700 or more. And you feel a little stressed out when you're under there and it's swinging back and forth a little bit as you're moving. So this just makes it really nice. It's that extra peace of mind.
Yes.
We also have a new set of monitor mounts arms as well. They're a little bit of the more like elite kind of version. They come with RGB integrated and just some really nice styling to it. The dual arm is 179 and the single is 109.
Okay.
And it's for the added functionality like USB pass through, the added styling, and then the RGB.
And it's got addressable RGB, so you can
I believe so.
control it. Okay.
Yeah, I think it all integrates into one of our RGB applications. So stopping off at this build really quick. Actually, you know, I said I was going to show you the E600s, which the front panel's changed out. This one has a distro plate mounted on the optional side or front bracket with TG. That one actually had the air with an additional 140 millimeter fans. Really changes out how the system looks. It's pretty cool. Well, what we're showing off right here is a little SSD cooler for the M.2s. You know, Gen 3, Gen 4, they really don't need it so much per se, but the Gen 5s do get a little hot.
Okay.
This is something very early that we're still working on. It is an active cooler. We don't have a name or anything or an ETA just yet. Yeah, that little guy.
Yeah.
And it should be coming in at around 1999. So.
Okay.
All right. So
When they get hot, you start to throttle.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they're awesome SSDs, but if it's throttling, it's not really doing its job.
Right. You're not getting that right.
All right, so moving into some of the custom water cooling, what I think is pretty cool here is we have a new set of radiators. These are the SRs. We're starting out in the 27, 25 millimeter thickness, kind of like AIOs.
Okay.
Pretty similar to what we've done before. But what's different here is if you notice those screws, that's because these side plates are removable. You can take them off, swap them out with other colors, paint them another color. I'm personally waiting to see when we come out with the 45 or the 64 millimeter thickness. I was going to take them off, give it to my brother, have him paint a whole diorama on the side, and then put them in the system. I think that'd be pretty cool. Again, it's just letting you stylize your system to make it really yours. But to go along with some of the new radiators, we also have some new fittings. So now, if you're looking at getting into water cooling, I would really suggest some of the fittings that we have. These are kind of an update to our previous fittings. They were called the C Pros, and those were very groundbreaking, at least in my opinion. Right now on the market for most fittings that you're going to find, they're considered two-piece fittings, and I call it a cup style. What it'll look like is somewhat like this, and then another cap with an O-ring that'll go over on the top. And usually from there, what you'll do is you'll size up your tube, and you always want to make sure you can account for the little space that the tube has to shove in there. Well, for this, we've changed it out to a three-piece design. You know, have a base plate, a middle sleeve, another compression O-ring, and then the top compression. The nice part about this is rather than having to account for that variable, those millimeters that it has to go in, you can cut and measure your tube and put it directly up against the base plate, wherever it is in the system, and you're done. That's it.
Right.
There's no guessing.
You can.
Yeah, so once you've measured your tube out and you've had it pressed up against the base plate, you can just go back, take the tube, put the top sleeve on, the O-ring, and then that middle collar, just bring it all in and just compress it down onto there. It'll go and it'll lock in. It makes it very, very simple. Like I said, it removes a lot of the guesswork. And the other thing is, like, we have a very simple bend where it's like, let's say it's a straight tube, right? And it's point A to point B. When you have the cup style, you have to force into one side and then kind of push the other side back a little just to force it into the other. With this one, you don't have to do that. You can cut it to the perfect size. You're not forcing any components back or forth. And then you can just lock it on using the top ring.
Yeah, that's one of the things as we're looking to get into it. Like, we gotta account for that extra distance.
Yeah.
How much are we gonna waste and do those measurements?
It's really stressful. And I mean, like, the components can take a little bit of the strain in the bend, but that's always really stressful.
Yeah.
You know, it's PCB. You really don't want to bend it.
No.
It can take it, but you don't want to do that.
Right.
And the other thing I really liked about these is the added security. There's one bottom O-ring that's going to get smashed and get pressed down by that middle sleeve. That middle sleeve also has two additional O-rings, and then one more that's going to sit in the bevel channel and get fully smashed out and compressed by this guy. So what that means is just, it doesn't mean it's leak proof, but it's a little bit more foolproof.
Extra pieces.
I've seen some builds that, like, the tube has backed out halfway from something and it still held because there were still two O-rings and another compression holding it all together. So now, funny enough, all of that right there, that was all just the highlights for the C-Pro fittings. These are SW fittings. So what the big change from the C-Pro to these was with the C-Pros, we had like a diamond texture knurling on there. It was good. It gripped very nice, but at the end, your fingers would kind of feel like you've lost some feeling and rubbed raw. So we updated it to this nice spiral knurling texture. If you want, you can take a feel. So really, really nice feeling. It'll grip really, really well. It'll grip really well without digging too much into your hand. And it's just really nice. I love the new design aspect to these. Should I put this guy on upside down? I love the new design aspect. We're doing white, chrome and black, and then matte black as well. I'm really excited for these. We have a bunch of new updated adapters and such, and then rotary extenders. So where rotary extenders normally usually aren't a thing,
Right.
most of the time extensions are just a solid piece. But one thing that we found out is, let's say you're using one of these guys for a drain plug, right?
Right.
With a solid one, you generally screw on your drain plug. If it has writing to tell you on and off,
Right.
you're kind of leaving it up to chance. Sometimes that writing, let's say, would end up on the back. And then you're like, I just got to kind of remember, I guess. I can back it out a little bit, but it's just going to worry me. Well, with the rotary, you can just spin the whole thing. And then you can always see that. It also helps for if you want to hide logos or show logos on the fitting itself.
Smart.
You know, try to provide some extra options right there. So I thought that was pretty cool. From there, we also have a new line of air coolers too. We have our Astria 200, 400, and 600. I like these guys a lot. They're very good entry level coolers. This guy's coming in at 35, 45, and then 70.
Okay.
This guy rocks a 4 heat pipe design that's direct to CPU contact. These two are 6 heat pipes and they're integrated into a nickel plated copper base. But what I really liked about these were this inclusion of the CT fans. So you know how we were talking about that Series 330 earlier? It's a 109. If you're building a system for the first time or maybe a little bit more on a budget, these are great. You can pick up one of these. It's going to match the full rest of the theme of your build already. No swapping out fans. They're all the same fans. So I thought that was really nice. It just adds that extra little cohesiveness to it.
Very nice. The same fans, the Tate's fans, and fans that come on here.
Yeah. So they look the same, but I believe these fans actually puts a little bit of extra RPM just to adjust for the extra cooling.
Cooling.
But it's nice that aesthetics wise, it's all matched. It also has the nice top cover. You know, I feel like this has been a long time coming, so we don't have to stare at the heat pipes and the top of the fin stack anymore. We can have a nice RGB top cover. If you don't like RGB, all of our stuff, you know, you can shut it off. No problem. And it'll still look great from there too.
Yeah, well, I look very nice. It's good work. Definitely this one looks high performance CPUs.
Yeah.
13 some of the 15 flat.
Totally. So if you want, we can go ahead and move over. We have some AIOs. We're actually going to go through this section a little fast, not because it's not interesting, but some of the really interesting stuff we'll see over in the fan section.
Okay.
So this guy right here, extreme concept sample. I don't have a name. I don't have a price. I don't have an ETA, anything. At first, I didn't even think they were going to show this, but I think they just were excited and wanted to show off the cool little design. So what they're working on here is essentially a static hub that you can remove and swap over with something else. We want to see if maybe we can offer like 3D printing support or something else like that, just to kind of give it that effect of, you know, your fan turns on, but your hub stays still. This is a really early sample. You'll probably tell it makes a little bit of noise right now. Very rough sample, but still pretty cool.
Okay.
So these two coolers are products that we have shown before. They're just being updated. So we have our tough liquid. These guys are nice because they have the adjustable cap. No matter which way you install it, just go ahead and remove the cap. You'll always have a nice clean look. We also have our ultras with integrated displays. You can flip that over using the software. The big thing on these coolers is they're getting updated to our new magnetic style fan connections, just to make building and everything super simple.
Okay.
And we'll get a little bit more into those fans in a sec.
Right.
Right here, I have, someone clicked off of it. That's no problem though. Actually, let me close this out. So this is really cool. This is it's a Tower 200 display, and we're just showing off that we're supporting Microsoft's dynamic lighting.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with the program, let's say I were to put together this system, I'd be looking at installing like 3 different programs, at least. I'd be looking at TT-RGB Plus, ASRock's Polychrome, and let's say that's an ASUS card, so Armor Crate, right?
Yeah.
What Microsoft's trying to do is into the operating system, they're trying to bake in an LED customization program, essentially, which is dynamic lighting. I can go ahead and click into here. And let's say, what if instead of solid color, I want to go with a wave and just drop me a couple colors and we'll change it over. So let's say a reddish orange and blue. And it'll go ahead and take over. You know, we're still working on things. You know, we got to find a way to make the memory and everything else integrate. But I feel like this is a really cool step because you can put together a system, use one application to update the lighting rather than installing 3 and slowly trying to get them to match colors.
Upgraded those different pieces of software and trying to get the exact same color.
Exactly, because it's not even like they do blue. All of them are the same.
Even if you put the hex number like in,
Yeah.
why is it the same?
And that's the nice thing is this is all through one app, so you'll have the best chance for that possible. And I really like it. Yeah. All right, so now I've been talking about the fan wall. Earlier I said I'd update you on the SWAFAN, so here we are. So we showed off our SWAFANs last year. They were a TT RGB plus version. They went through a controller and used our own software. This year we're updating them to ARGB, so you can see some of the cables here. It's just running the 3-pin,
Right.
5-volt ARGB along with a 4-pin PWM header, and that leads over to our magnetic connection, which just slaps onto the fan. And that's how the fan is going to get its power and its lighting, which is smacked with my hand. But what makes these fans cool is they're all magnetic connection. You can daisy chain all of these together just by slapping them together with magnets. Same with how they're going to feed into the power.
Okay.
It makes it super, super simple. I love it. I mean, I've actually gotten lazy a little bit to start just doing 4 screws on half of my builds sitting at home because I know it's super easy to remove.
Right.
But that's not the only thing about these fans. You know how earlier I mentioned, like, hey, the fan looks a little weird, like we're exhausting from the bottom.
Right.
Well, these fans actually have an extra little feature to them. You can just go ahead and pop out the fan blade. With each of the kits, we include 3 additional reverse style blades. So you just pop that blade in. And the reason I really like this is you'll end up with certain orientations and cases like push pull or bottom intake where you spend a bunch of money for fans, like let's say $100 for 3 fans, and then you're stuck looking at the back structure, and that feels a little bad. You spend all that money, you want to see the nice set of the fan, but we're stuck looking here, so we wanted to change that. With these fans, essentially, you'll always be looking at what you paid all the money for.
Now you can exhaust and have it that way.
Exactly. So, like, when you guys go look back through at some of the systems, and it looks like, why are you exhausting into the ground? We're not. We're intaking, but you're actually being able to see all the LEDs that you actually paid for. So that was our big push with SWAFAN. The other thing I like about these is because the blades are removable, think about maintenance, cleaning, trying to get in between the fan blades to clean it out and the housing. It's always a pain.
Yeah.
There is no electronic components in here whatsoever. If I was really lazy, I could just go wash these under the sink, let them air dry. Hey, there are electronic components in here, but now that the blades are gone, it's super easy to clean out. It's no problem whatsoever. So it makes maintenance really, really easy. That's one thing I really liked about these fans.
Parts there, or if you have electric like PC blower, if you spin these fans too quickly,
You can get filled up. Yeah.
or you can damage the fan.
Yeah, and if you want, go ahead and try and pop out some blades. They'll just pop out from the back. If you push the back of the blades. And yeah, it just pops right out. Along with the additional blades, we offer a tube of the grease for the bearing.
Okay.
You really don't even need to apply it that often. What you would is maybe if you're sitting here all day, like popping it in and out, then you might want to apply some. But essentially, that tube is almost like a lifetime supply. It's pretty crazy. So just take them and just push them.
Push on the very soon. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. It's a little weird getting used to it the first
Yeah,
time
but once you got it,
because you're kind of like, dude, I don't want to break fan. Traditionally, this is how you would be breaking fan.
Yeah.
But like, it's pretty nice. It's pretty straightforward once you get used to it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I mean, also just for me, because like, I do a lot of testing and stuff. I got storage. I like that these are magnetic. Right, you can just stick them to things.
I love magnets too.
Yeah, I mean, we're all kids at heart, right? It's kind of a magnet. And I've even stuck them to cases like this, hooked up the cable, and just had myself a little desk fan just blowing. I thought that was fun.
And with the magnets, like you don't have to get a slide
Nope.
in.
It just pushes all straight together.
Just push all together and you can put all screws in.
Funny enough, last year, the whole thing for everyone was like seeing how close they could get it before the magnets would actually just take over and slap it together. And that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So right here, we're also showing that we're updating to the Hydrangea blue and then the ARGB I mentioned before. We have a set of the high performance fans over here. The same thing, they have the magnetic daisy chaining technology, same with the swappable fan blades. But one cool thing about these guys that I wanted to show off, let me see if I can pull back there. All right, so these right here are the current pin to pad contacts that we have. They work great, but one thing that we noticed kind of, you might have seen it earlier with connector, I kind of missed, or another thing that we noticed is you'd screw it in, and if this screw was a little tighter than this one, sometimes it would offset the pins, you would lose connection.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're trying to fix with that is this. This is really cool. What we've done is just super enlarge that pad, and it makes it so it takes a lot to lose connection. About a month or so ago, I got to see some of the ARGB or the RGB ones that they're experimenting with, and I was able to get probably about that far. before it lost connection.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's pretty good because if my fans are this far apart, I have other problems.
Yes.
If there's something else drastically wrong with my case or my radiator starting to spiral.
Right. Right.
So like, I thought that was really cool. It was really fun seeing how far I could actually take it before it lost connection.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, because you're putting the case together and you might miss and then it's kind of like that and then you're like, why isn't that thing working? And then you check all the trouble with cable manage and you have to go back in.
Yeah, so usually what would happen is what I've seen is people will screw everything in, they'll turn it on, and maybe only one or so will work or one or two will work. And usually what I'll see from there is just slowly start backing out some of the screws. The one screws that you really want to make sure are really in are these two and these two, because they're essentially going to hold the whole assembly together. The middle fan is technically getting sandwiched. So I'm not saying you don't put screws. You can totally put screws, but just don't like lock them in as tight as you're used to.
Okay.
And you're totally fine to do it. You know, it's a little bit of an adjustment with these, but hopefully once everything switches over to this pin contact, it's completely in the past, no worries anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, good innovation.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, besides just building, they're really fun to just play with the magnets and snap everything together.
It makes it easier, quicker to put your bills in.
Totally. If for putting it together, also disassembling it whenever you have to troubleshoot, it just simplifies out that process. All right, so moving on, we have some of our memory. So we started doing memory a few years ago. We've been kind of catching up to the market. Right here is something that we kind of worked on. It's a little bit of a niche product. We've had our memory integrated AIOs. So the memory is also being water cooled, plus it has support with the screen, same with the CPU. This year, the kit is being updated to 24 gig sticks at 5600.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
But then from there, we have our more traditional memory, which is our tough RAM and DDR5 and our XG and DDR5. For this, we've been doing a lot of work to make sure we can support with all the different colors and things like that. So you'll see it bleeding into all the different SKUs along with that 25-year blue, and then also being updated to 8,000 speeds, 8,000 speed.
And you have the RGB for
Yep.
for those that want.
I really like the RGB look. The XGs look great with the LEDs in the center. And the tough RAM modules, once you have 4 sticks lined up, it just looks really, really nice.
And all the way up to 8,000 mega transfers.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Very
Yep.
good.
And then finally, we have memory. Actually, one second. Before that just disappears. Yeah. So finally, we have power. Power's been a little crazy this year, as you guys probably know.
Yeah.
I mean, so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But before we get into the PSUs, this is actually one of my favorite products here. This is our Dr. Power. So it isn't like a full load tester or anything. This is essentially a power on and off tester and continuity. So what's really nice about this is you will essentially plug all your cables into a power supply and then go ahead and plug them into the tester itself. It's going to turn on. It's going to tell you what the voltage is for each cable going through, but also if you have continuity or if the power supply is dead. If it's dead or you don't have continuity, the screen just turns red. And you just know that's not good.
Red is dead.
Exactly. So I mean, think about how many times you've been troubleshooting a PC. Half the time we go for the power supply last. With this, you can just plug all those cables in, and you'll know if you're good or not. The other thing that I personally love this for is I do a lot of testing and stuff. I end up with a lot of power supplies and stuff around my office. Cables, people will test stuff, move it. They'll end up loose like this, and then you're like, dude, was that from an 850 or was that from a 1200? I don't know. It's not the same pin out.
Right.
Well, this guy right here, you just take those cables, plug them into the power supply, plug them into here. If it's the correct cable, it'll show up blue. It'll tell you the voltage. If it's the wrong cable, it's just going to show up red. And then you can go around looking for the right power supply. So, I mean, I'm on Reddit every now and then. And every now and then I'll see posts like, hey, my system fried and I grabbed a cable from another system. That's usually why.
Yeah.
This is going to prevent that from there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then once you find out, you can label that cable so you know.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is a really cool little tool. It's not the craziest thing out there, but it's just super, super handy.
It's good.
So we should be getting this in like end of March, and I believe they're $39.99.
Okay, great.
So awesome as a little piece of kit. Really nice. Just
Good,
peace of
good
mind.
to have in your toolbox. Definitely.
Totally.
Because then you're gonna go through the cables. I'm like, was that from the Seasonic or was it what power supply was that?
Totally. Yeah.
What's a power supply? What's the panel?
Exactly. And it's like we all have like a bunch of cables laying everywhere. So we've never wanted just to randomly connect them and test it out the hard way. This will actually allow you to test them all, make sure you're all set to go.
Okay, and you said when's this coming?
End of March.
End of March. Okay.
Yep.
I think I'll be getting that.
Totally. So then moving on to power supplies, we have our new titanium series. It's going to be the TF3s. They're going to go all the way from 1600 watts down to 850 watts. Pretty nice little lineup, and you know, titanium efficiency is great across the board. And then from the we also have, there we go. We showed this guy off last year at CES, and everyone was already freaking out at that. It's gold efficiency, it's SFXL, and it's 1,000 watts. And then this year we showed up with this guy, and I was a little blown away. I mean, it's 1,000 watts, platinum efficiency, and actually standard SFX form factor.
So your small builds, small form factor builds, 1,000 watts.
Yep. And I mean, to put it even a little bit more in perspective, just to kind of size match them all there.
And all ATX 3.1.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, this one's actually 3.0.
This is last year, like.
This was the last year's model. But the new editions are 3.1. And I mean, like, it's funny to me because I just look at this and I'm like, I have a 1200 at home. This probably comes out to here. Like, it's crazy how much smaller they're getting with that higher efficiency. And just the new technology in general. It's pretty impressive.
Pieces, they get heavy on film build, so if you can cut down on size, weight, every little bit.
Totally. And like, you know, I was mentioning earlier, I do a lot of custom water cooling builds and stuff like that. If it's in the office, it's one thing, but like if I'm traveling or out somewhere else, these things are amazing because I can take one of these, throw it in a bag. It's not going to take up a bunch of space or weight, but I can use it to power on and off this pump on the system, fill it up, drain it, do whatever I got to do, and I don't have to turn the rest of the system on just to run the cooling. They're really, really good. I can even, you know, you can even use it as a backup power supply to see if the one's dead. Maybe you don't have to talk to power on it. You know, SFX is great for some of that too.
That's another good use case. And these, yeah, so it's expensive one, so you're gonna have the cable for your 49
Yep.
and 59s eventually. Okay, great. And when's, is this already on the market or coming to market also?
Let me see there. I can also actually take a picture of this guy later too, so you can refer to it. We should be getting these guys in March, and then these guys sometime in May. It is going to be $164.99 for the 850. Or I'm sorry, $164.99 for the 750.
Okay.
$174.99 for the 850, and then $209 for the 1,000 watt.
Okay.
And then let's see here from this way, we are looking at 189,
Okay.
219, 279, and 369.
Okay. Very nice. I mean, the size of those, that's just,
Yeah.
that's just phenomenal.
It's amazing. Actually, let me just see actually really quick before the monitors tear down. So these 4 builds were done by 2 monitors. These 2 here on the right were done by Stuart Tonks, and these 2 on the left were done by Tim Partner. One of the reasons I want to show you this is that one on the left was Tim Parker actually started out with one of our big C750s, completely gutted the inside of the case and rebuilt it into just something completely different. One of the ways he was able to save so much space is he went with an SFX power supply. So like it gives you all those options to really like cut things out, move things around, and not have to deal with like spacing as an issue. Yeah.
Still got
Yeah. So like, you know, earlier I was like, you know, being able to take the system and really make it yours and specialize. This is some of the work that we do, like that the modders do, just to kind of show them if you want to go that extra mile, you can really turn it into something completely crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I just did a little, but I think I may need to do another one. I'm doing where you take like 480i video, convert it to 4K with Topaz Labs. So like the graphics card and everything. So I just need, I'm gonna have to do it. And also, I take 2D movies, turn them into 3D with another implication 3D.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've been taking a lot of like old like cartoons and stuff I have, upscaling to 4K, color correcting them with the DaVinci Resolve.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
definitely gonna. I wanted to do the water cool, like custom water cool. I think the next one I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want some tips and stuff before you get started, whatever.
Maryland.
Okay, so you guys are on the East Coast?
Yeah.
3 hours ahead of us. So then every Wednesday, 4 p.m. your time,
Okay.
or Thermal Mike does a live stream on Twitch.
Okay.
And every now and then he does full custom water cooling builds. He'll walk you through the whole steps, all the steps of the process and stuff. It's like over the course of a few weeks, but it's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And he uses all of our components, walks through how it all works.
Okay.
You know, goes through the process of bending. So it's definitely a good little resource to look into if you're looking into one.
Oh, definitely. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
No problem, man. My pleasure.